a little disclaimer for this episode. If you have kids in the room, I would suggest you just pause it now and just hold off until you have a little alone time. We get a little silly on this episode. We have some foul language, some adult topics, playful adult topics. So I just want to give you a fair warning. Otherwise, tell your kids earmuffs. But let's get on with the show. Hey, toy family. Welcome to the Marsham Toy Hour, where we discuss anything and everything designer toys. I'm Gary Ham.
I'm Teresa Hawkins.
I'm George Gaspar.
Welcome back, George.
Thank you.
What, 2 months off? No, you came back one time in the last couple months.
Yeah, I snuck in there for one episode.
Well, many listeners are going to be glad you're back. I've been hearing from a lot of people they kind of miss you. So.
Oh, come on. Teresa's got all the knowledge. She's talks about all the cute stuff. You don't need me here.
You know, people like the guy who kind of dishes like harsh honesty. And you kind of developed a reputation for being that guy.
The a-hole is what you're saying.
Well, see, I never saw you that way. I know the people who... Some people would see it that way. I never saw it. I always just thought, like, you're just being honest. And I appreciate honesty way more than the person who has nothing to say. I love having you on.
Sometimes I have too much to say.
Well, what I'm saying is just try not to suck too much tonight, because people are really excited you're back.
All right, well, we'll see. After Comic-Con, I had a bit of a rage problem, so we'll see if it's subsided enough.
Okay. And so last week we took off, and it was my wife's birthday, so we decided to celebrate her birthday and just have a nice, easy-going
Happy birthday.
Weekend. If she's listening, I'm sure she'll appreciate that. Thanks, George. And also, while we had the week off, a lot of people have been asking for a place that they can discuss post-discussion show of what we talk about here on Marsham, or just like a one place that they can go to. Instagram, I always thought Instagram might be the place for that, but it's proven not to be with the algorithms and all that. So what I did is I set up a stomping ground for us on Facebook. It's a Facebook group, but we're calling it the Marsham Stomping Ground. And basically that's where we're going to continue post podcast discussions, I'm going to have daily fun questions. We're going to have polls and just share links and just other toy nonsense there on a daily basis. So if that's something you're interested in, just search Marsham on Facebook and join the Stomping Ground.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, we've only been doing it for a week now, but, you know, hopefully it's a place that the listeners or any fans of the show, or really just anyone, we're just trying to, you know, have a nice, fun, you know, lighthearted little community. And if you have any suggestions for the show or want to, you know, discuss what you heard on the show, that'll be the place to do it. Otherwise, guys, we're being joined by a guest today.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's just do it. So we're being joined by the incredible self-taught sculptress of amazing things. She's, I believe she originally started doing just sculpting jewelry, but she's transitioned to sculpting toys of her own design, like her owlies. She's been doing customs, and she's also been a hired hand to contribute her sculpting talents for toys like Super 7's licensed muscle lines, and even the upcoming 5-inch Crumpus Dunny by Kid Robot. Her work is beautiful, it's highly technical, and worthy of all the accolades she's been receiving. So let's give a big, warm Marsham welcome to SeriouslySillyK.
You guys are too sweet. That was a very, very nice introduction.
We try.
Thank you. No, that was very sweet. I already have a warm tummy now. I'm also blushing, so I don't know if it's the plum wine or if it was the sweet introduction.
It's okay. We're not on video, so we can just imagine that. Can I just call you Silly?
Yes, feel free to call me Silly or Cat. Whatever is more pleasant for you.
Let's go Silly. So Silly,
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with the show, but usually
Really? We're going to go Silly over Cat?
I like Silly. Well, you can go Cat if you want.
All right, you do what you got to do, Gary.
I like silly too. You know, it's not necessarily meant into the dumb way, but silly as in goofy. A lot of my work actually is always, you know, a little butthole there or a little dick, and then just some funniness to it.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely want to get in talking about you and how you got started sculpting and into this crazy designer toy world. But before we do that, we have this segment at the beginning of every show. It's called Leaks and Sneak Peeks, and it's basically the part of the show where we talk about anything that we might have seen on social media this week or previous weeks that we're excited about that's coming out. So, Silly, with you being our guest, would you like to go first?
Oh yeah, I actually have a couple toys that I have seen pop up on Instagram, which I loved a lot. One of them, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it too, is Hattori Taro, if I pronounced that right, which is like a little chubby Garfield-like tiger house cat that is disguised as a human and has those pink nipples, which is incredibly like this is my kind of toy because it's silly, it's cute, and it's fun. So that is one, and I think this is like right now for pre-order at my Plastic Heart, not sponsored. And also the other one that I like very much because I love rainbows is from Candie Bolton. She is releasing like a red panda Randalulu thing, if I remember that name right. And it's like translucent. I don't know if it's a Fubi or if it's just, you know, a Chinese vinyl, but still it's like similar to those with the spikes on the back. I think it would go very well with the Negora cat or the Rangeras by TG9 or even like the little Rangeron, because it has those spikes that would fit so great in this collection. So her toys are always Japanese inspired, and I love them.
Yeah, it's a fantastic. I love Randalulu. And the moobs on the cat one, the Hattori.
Yes!
That didn't bother you at all?
No, I find them so adorable. If I had the toy, I would just tweeze around on those tiny nipples. It's just cute. And the little muffin top as well on the belly. It's just like a nice little chubby beer belly.
Uh-huh. No, that's a rad. I love the sculpt on that one. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good ones. Who wants to go next?
Teresa.
Alrighty then. Well, the only thing I can think of, and it's not even really necessarily a toy, but something cute, of course, cute that I saw. But Flatbonnie, who does a lot of the cute flat plushies, she actually is working on some jewelry. They're basically faces of her different characters, so like her bunny and hamster and cat and a dog, and she's making these heart pennants with those character faces on them in like I guess like a sterling silver type of thing, right?
Yeah.
She's making them into like necklaces and bracelets and key rings and whatnot. They're super cute, and so I know it's not necessarily a toy per se, but it's kind of a spin-off of her characters, and I saw those come through, and those were pretty fun.
No, I really like those too, and I think I don't know if she could possibly do it, but if there's any sort of like toy store distributor or even those laser engraving machines, if she got in touch with someone like that, those designs of her would sell by the thousands at like a PetSmart or a Petco or any sort of pet store like that. You know, people love their pets, and I can see like even someone like you, Teresa, or Silly. You know, you both love your dogs, and like, you know, you're wearing one necklace, and then you have the engraved dog tag of the same design on their collar. I can see that doing really well. But right now they're just for humans, and I think they're pretty awesome.
You know what, Gary? I totally now want to buy two and just put one somehow on my dog's collar.
You
so
could. You could totally do
matching
it.
jewelry.
Yeah.
Yes, like those friendship bracelets.
Yeah, totally. I'm crazy enough to do that, and I kind of want to do it now, so maybe I will.
Do it.
But I think she had made some, and I know she was doing CatCon, but I believe she has put them up in her web shop now, so I think they're available to go check out and buy.
I've heard it all. Did you say CatCon?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a convention for everything now.
Dude, CatCon's huge.
I bet. No, people love their cats. I get it.
It's right here where Designercon is. Same place.
Oh, okay.
Pasadena.
Yep.
And Kelly is the crazy stuff. Have you ever seen this little commercial? I think it was another big thing on Instagram where people, you know, they couldn't really lick their cat the same way a cat licks them. So they have those like silicone tongues. You stick it in your mouth, and then you just pet them with that stupid ass tongue. And
Licky Cat.
Oh, you actually know the name of it.
They were selling it at CatCon last year.
You were there in person.
No, because it's here locally, our local radio station covers the event. So I listened to a lot of the stuff that they did on it.
But you don't have a cat yourself and do that crazy stuff, do you?
No, I'm allergic to cats, so I can't do that.
Oh, Jesus. Only cats or dogs as well?
As far as I know, it's just cats.
That's good.
Okay. Good to know.
I'm with you, George. Cats suck. Well, that comes across a little harsh, but I'm crazy allergic, so I can't really deal with cats either.
Damn.
I always hear, and I don't know if it's true, but you are not actually allergic against the hair, but the spit that the cats salivate all over their hair. So when you get that stuff in your nose, if you would just have a cat that doesn't lick itself, that would be perfect for you.
But then you'd have a dirty cat.
Yeah.
All right, Giggles, George. What'd you bring for us?
I don't know. Did you guys mention the Grief Encounters Kickstarter?
No,
I've been listening, but I don't remember you guys talking about it.
No, we talked about his 10-year anniversary figure coming out, but not the Grief Encounters Kickstarter.
All right, well, I'll mention that because it only has a couple days left, and they're still, trying to reach the goal. It's a pretty hefty goal, and it's, if you don't know who I'm talking about, it's Luke Chu and Monkey King, and they are trying to. I guess it's actually Monkey King's Kickstarter. They're trying to make animated versions of some of his paintings. Kind of tells the story of like how the painting image got to where it's at in the story. You know what I'm saying? So like they put up an example on their page of one of the Target animation that they did for the Target painting, and it's just so cool. It like brings that whole painting to life, and it gives it a whole new like, I don't know. There's like, for me, it's like a whole new sense of the painting now.
Okay.
And I just think it's such a cool idea. Like when I first saw it, I backed it just because I like Luke and I like Monkey King. But after I actually watched the video, I was like, oh, you know what? This is kind of neat. Like after I saw the actual animation, because at first I was like, who cares? Like I don't need to have animation about it. I'll back it because they're my friends. But then I watched it and I changed my mind and I was like, you know what? I'll back this because it's cool.
Okay, cool.
So it's gonna be tough to reach that goal in only a couple days left. But let's if we all chip in a little bit. There's exclusive figures. There's a version of that new figure, of that 10-year anniversary figure that they're doing, and there's a bunch of cool stuff. If you're into Luke Chu's art, I'd say get on there and check it out.
What's the actual end date? Do you know?
The 20th, I believe. Sunday, August 20th.
Okay. So yeah, we got almost a week left.
So yeah, let's. It looks like it's probably at midnight. So maybe Saturday is the 19th. Is really like you only have till then.
Okay, nice. Yeah, let's support Luke. Sounds like a good little project.
I'm actually interested in how it will look like if they will animate that figure with those two wolves fucking, the bitch one.
That's one of the ones that they said they're gonna do.
Oh my goodness!
So I'm interested to see that as well.
Yeah, I wonder if they're showing the red rocket or if they keep it PG.
I don't know. I have to wait and find out.
All I know is this is not Teresa talk.
I'm literally sitting here thinking I'm way too innocent for some of this conversation.
Teresa has no idea what a red rocket is.
I know what you're meaning there.
Yeah, or lipstick. I think lipstick is another term for.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes.
Glad you have a girl. You don't have to see that happening.
See?
And that's one very positive thing of having a sweet little girl.
Yeah, but they bleed like once every half year, a couple drops here and there, unless you have her fixed.
Oh, she's fixed.
She's fixed. Okay.
No making babies over here.
That's good. Yeah, I prefer that too when dogs are fixed because there are too many dogs.
Off topic.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's only proper. We started out the show making Silly blush, and now Teresa's going to blush. And George, by the end of the show, we're going to make you blush.
We'll see.
Yeah. You too, Gary.
We will never know if he does because we can actually see him.
That's true. Well, I guess it's my turn, so I'll do my little leak real quick here. So Eric Althin, he's also Sad Salesman on Instagram. He made some noise.
I love the guy.
Yeah,
I'm
awesome.
sorry.
Yeah, no. So he made some noise at 5 Points with his first self-produced vinyl toy. It was simply titled Wizard. It's an awesome figure. A lot of people were really excited about the release, and from the Marsham Stomping Ground this week, we have learned that he has a second figure that he's going to self-produce titled the Dessert Oracle, and it's going to be releasing at Designercon. So anyone who's not familiar with Eric's work, be sure to check him out on Instagram. He's at sad_salesman on Instagram. He creates fun and whimsical characters. The one that I really like, the Dessert Oracle that's going to come out at DesignerCon. It's like 3 stacked characters, all kind of like a little bit dessert themed. He does a lot of stacked characters, and they're just fantastic. And he does all the sculpting. He's posted the early preview on the Marsham Stomping Ground, so you can check that out there. We'll post some, or just I'm sure he'll post it on Instagram as well. And and also speaking of DesignerCon, the tickets are now available for purchase at designercon.com. There are 3 tiers for the tickets. There's the 1-day pass, a weekend pass, and a VIP pass. The VIP passes are $35, and they're said to be limited, but I have not been able to read anywhere what the limited ability is. I don't know if it's a limited time frame or a certain number. I haven't been able to find that out. So if you want early entrance, you want to be able to attend panels and an after party and be able to get some of the after party exclusives and all that added good stuff that a VI pass gets you, be sure to go to designercon.com and get your pass.
Decon! Woo! It's going to be my first one.
I'm really excited about that.
Yes.
That salesman figure, because it's really cute, and it's got like the middle character holding a really cute ice cream cone.
Yeah, it's like a little rabbit guy holding an ice cream cone, and it's fun. They're fun. He does great work.
I hope he's actually going to be at Decon this year, because you said one of, I guess, his new figure is going to be released at Decon, so I hope he's going to be there. I would love to meet the guy.
I'm pretty certain he'll be there. Yeah.
He's really nice, and I actually didn't know about his art until actually end of May when I saw that he's part of that Stranger Factory show that we both had together with other artists in June.
Yes.
So I was basically being notified about his work, and it's just so adorable. It makes me smile. There's so much derpy cuteness in his work.
Yep.
And yeah, I just really love his work, and we have been chit-chatting here and there. So I hope he's gonna get more publicity than he has, because he deserves more followers. That's for sure.
Oh, definitely. He's a great guy. He does amazing work. I stopped by his booth at 5 Points, and everything that he sculpts, and it all deserves to be a toy. I mean, I want it all.
Yes.
He does.
Absolutely agree.
He did a wonderful turtle rider. It's a turtle with this weird looking little wizard guy riding up top. I mean, it's just fantastic, whimsical stuff, and that's exactly what appeals to me. So. I love him. Eric's a good guy. So, yeah, let's definitely support him and, egg him on to make more toys.
Do you know if that Dessert Oracle is going to be a production thing, or is it going to be just like handmade resins?
No, it's going to be production. From what I saw, he posted on the Stomping Ground, it's going to be a 5-inch vinyl toy. But I don't know what the edition size is or anything like that. So he says it's going to be released at DesignerCon. But like his first one, the Wizard, that was released at 5 Points, I mean, that was only an edition of 150 pieces. And as far as I know, only released in that one colorway. I have not heard any news of it coming out in a second colorway at all. So,
that thing looks amazing, though. I've never even heard of this guy or seen this before. That thing's so cool. I might have to order one of these after the show.
Yeah, that piece was sort of the talk of the town of 5 Points. It was like I heard a lot of people talking about it. I saw a lot of people walking around with it, and then like as soon as he got back from 5 Points, I just started seeing the shops now stocking it and stuff. So he's creating waves. So
is this is this his first vinyl? That one?
That one is his very first vinyl. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to order that. That thing's cool looking.
That's awesome. You'll like it. It's really cool. And that one was actually produced through Pretty in Plastic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, well, Silly, let's get to know you a little bit.
What do you want to know, Gary?
Well, where were you born?
I was born in Germany, and who just snorted?
No, I try not to do like boring interview style stuff, but no. So you came from, you're born in Germany, but you now live in the States since like 2009.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. How do you know so much about me already?
I'm a stalker. I secretly stalk you.
That's fine with me. Yeah.
You live in muggy, beautiful, warm Florida?
Yes. And I actually love it, temperature-wise, and I also love the nature down here. It's literally like National Geographic. You have so many different species. It's tropical down here. So for me, when it comes to casting or to airbrushing or to use spray paint or anything, it's the worst weather ever, because the humidity just traps all of the bubbles, and your paint attracts moisture. So that is a shitty thing. But aside from that, I really love it down here.
Right. Okay. So
did we really just talk about the weather, though?
We did, and oh my God. I might cut that out. We'll see. I might like it. I don't know. We'll see. But so in the intro, I sort of mentioned that you are a self-trained sculptor. Like, how did that come to be? Like, what were you doing? Like, as a profession, what were you doing before you started sculpting?
Holy fuck. Okay, let's say it like this. That my father, he has art in his blood, so he is a wonderful oil painter, and he used to carve out for Christmas, wooden figures, and he's incredible with this, basically like wood dremeling, or however you would say this in the USA.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a little bit of artistic talent, I would say, in my blood, but I never really trained for that. I actually moved out when I was 17 years old, and I got an apprenticeship as an insurance saleswoman, but not in the matter that you think I was actually a saleswoman. I worked on the inner departments, and I took care of people who had contracts in different kind of insurance branches. And that I did. I did this actually for 8 years of my life until I met my husband, and we actually met each other in a chat room together. And then he introduced me to designer toys. I never knew what they were before. He had a couple of toys, and then I started collecting too. And eventually I just started sculpting on one. And this is how everything then just flourished since 2010, I think.
Okay, but you didn't start sculpting in 2010. You were sculpting before then, right? Like jewelry and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I did mushrooms and stuff here there, but that literally only happened when I moved to the USA, and I think I started around 2010. Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, so you're like a late bloomer, but you're incredibly talented. Like,
thank you so much.
I hear people talking about how amazing your sculpts are all the time. So to be starting, be doing this only within the last, you moved in Florida in 2009. Let me do the math. 8 years? You've only been doing this 8 years, and you're incredible.
I think 8 years is a long time. Other people might develop that skill much faster than I did. So, it's literally just me teaching myself and figuring stuff out through trial and error. And that might be the most sincere way of becoming an artist without having to go to a school and they force their styles up on you.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I would rather probably have like a sculpting education and just be more efficient than actually having to go through the trouble and teaching myself. So it's all pros and cons in that matter.
Yeah, trial and error and missteps along the way and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. I'm still not where I want to be. I follow so many people on Instagram who are just incredibly talented artists, and I look up to those, and I hope that someday I will be able to be on their level.
George, what do you think about that?
I think she's already surpassed many people's levels. So.
Right.
Oh, shut up.
What are you sculpting in? Like when you do you did the figures for Super 7, the worst, like the minifigures. Yeah. What are you sculpting those in when you're making them?
I actually work with Super Sculpey. This is a type of polymer clay, and I always used a firm one, but they have now a new one out there, which is not just normal and firm anymore. They now have an extra firm. So the firm one is almost too soft now. They really try to invent new shit for you, so you have to buy more. It's terrible. But yeah, I love Super Sculpey over any other clay that I have tried so far.
Are you using like a wax as well, or what's because I know like on some of them there's that green. What's the green?
Oh yeah, the green is actually called Green Stuff. It literally is called Green Stuff, and I think it is from a brand called Citadel, and it's like an epoxy clay where one part is yellow and one part is blue, and you mix them equally together, and it cures much quicker, and it's also flexible in some ways.
Oh, okay, so it is an epoxy sculpt then, and those are hard pieces on there.
Yeah, but they're not really hard. They're kind of still, flexible in some ways. They don't break as quickly as other clays do. But I only used it in a very few areas if I need to do some detailing or I need something to cure quickly, because I don't really bake my little sculptures until they're actually done.
Right.
What are you working with? Wood wax?
Yeah, I mean, for those kind of size things, I would definitely do a wax. But only because for me, Sculpey has always been too soft.
Yeah. And
I haven't tried the extra firm or whatever you just said it was called.
Try that one. It's like a new one that they brought out.
Okay. Like that turtle shell you made on that
Kappa?
that little figure, that turtle shell was insane.
thank you so much. That was also done.
I mean, even that whole figure's insane, but like that turtle shell, like the work just to do that piece, it must have taken hours.
Yeah, it's kind of my problem. I'm a little bit obsessed with details, even though somebody, you know, I mean, you probably have worked with Scott before. I think you did for him the deadbeat, and I fucking love that thing. The deadbeat 2.0 as well, with the little belly again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. It looks just like the drawing. And I have told Scott before that I hope I'm going to reach your level because it was such a fantastic piece.
Well, you're beyond that level already. That little like Kappa figure and these Super 7 minis are amazing.
Yeah, no. No, I mean, yes, thank you, but
you guys are like playing tennis with compliments right now.
Well, I'm not going to stop because these like just scroll through her Instagram and look at this stuff. It's like, come on.
So, let me just stop right now. So anyone who's not familiar, I would say go right now on Instagram, follow SeriouslySillyK. She does a lot of like in progress shots. She does a lot of live videos where she'll actually talk and you can watch them and she'll teach you. You can actually watch her sculpt and she'll show you why she does this and why she uses this. And I've watched a few of them. It's hard, you know, unfortunately I had kids when I was watching them, so I didn't get to watch them through their entirety. But, you know, I learned a few little tricks of why she uses alcohol and then, you know, sort of little tricks like that. So I would say definitely follow her. Whether you're a sculptor or not a sculptor, her work is amazing and she does a lot of collaborations and all that stuff. So definitely have a look.
Yeah, if you follow me, give me a heads up where you came from, and I'm gonna check you guys out too. I always like to look at what kind of people follow me, and if you're not private, I'm gonna check you out. Maybe even follow you back, especially if you're an artist, because that is so kind of my niche that I follow on Instagram. I take that inspiration. I take this as a goal for me to get better. So people like George, for example, you know, I take him as a peer, and I'm like, okay, you gotta learn more to even, you know, come near where those levels, and that makes you just better.
Yeah. Now, are you sculpting full time?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
That is what I do. It's not always easy because I'm still trying to figure all of this stuff out, but there are a couple of people that I actually really like working with, and Super 7 has become one of those companies that I love working for, because my contact there is Josh. I mean, George, you probably know him, Josh Herbolsheimer, and he just really understands the progress, and he provides always great sketches, and I love working with him. It's always great when you don't even get to hear that you need to make changes, but very often, you know, if it's licensed figures, it has to go through the licensor and they might want to have changes. But I really love working with Josh. Like, Super 7 has become one of my favorite companies to work for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Josh is a good dude.
Yeah, right?
Now, do you have a preference whether something's a small, like the muscle figures, or versus maybe doing just a standard 4 or 5 inch figure? Does it matter to you, or you don't seem really hindered by working really small at all?
Yeah, I actually never worked on such small pieces until Super 7 asked me if I could sculpt the Street Fighter figures for them. So that was my very first try ever on those type of figures.
Wow.
But I actually got better through the progress of making those 12 figures. The first couple ones, they might not have been ideal, but then the more detailed one I kept for the end, and those ones turned out really, really good. And now that I have done a couple more series for them, one of them is still in production, which I don't know if I can talk about. But yeah, for me, if I don't go out of my comfort zone, I won't get better. And those muscle figures were definitely in the beginning out of my comfort zone, and now I love doing small work just as much as I love bigger work or medium-sized stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Show me any design. If I like it, I want to sculpt it.
Now, are you primarily?
Yeah.
Are you primarily working on like designer toy-ish type stuff, or are you working for other mainstream toy companies, or is it mainly toy work that's keeping you busy full time, or is it more personal stuff and toy stuff?
Sadly, not so much personal stuff. I have been taking out the last couple of months to work on a project that I've actually started last year, which is like a little cute armadillo. And I finally was like invited to another toy show where I had for myself an excuse to just put all of the other work aside and make molds of that piece and cast like one up. So I can't wait to actually make some for Decon as well. I'm so happy how this piece came out. And it's rarely evident I'm happy with my work, but this armadillo is just ultra fucking cute.
Is that the one you like melted down to poop on your Instagram?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that video. Yeah,
I saw. And what is the reason for that? It's just a reusable clay, so you can melt it down and just reuse it again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was actually monster clay, and I've never worked with monster clay before. It has kind of like a wax type of texture to it, but I didn't know that in the heat where I live that it will get ultra freaking soft. So for me, this was one of the most terrible clay to work with. But because I already did so much on the body and I sculpted all of those scales in like a honeycomb pattern, I just couldn't give up and had to keep working with this freaking material. And I hope I will probably use it more like around the winter time when it's colder here. Otherwise, it just is terrible to work with. Sorry, monster clay.
Now, is monster clay like a super sculpting where you can stick it in the freezer and it kind of hardens up and makes it easier to work with for at least a couple hours? Okay. Yeah,
not for a couple of hours. I usually also had to dip my hands in cold water so it would not deform in my hand. I'm never having the AC on like a low temperature because we have, I know it's totally off topic, guys. I'm sorry, Teresa. I'm sorry, George. I'm sorry, Gary. But our AC here, it can't handle anything below 76 degrees. So during the day, I have it between 80 and 82. So I'm sweating my balls off in this house. And then in the evening, I turn it to 76 so we can sleep somehow.
Let's talk about how you have balls.
Oh. Every woman has a pair of balls hidden inside of them. Right, Teresa?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes it comes out and sometimes it doesn't.
You know, it's funny.
That sounds miserable, by the way.
Yeah, and I can't use that monster clay for the same reason. Like, my hands are too hot to use that clay.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you have the same issue, but I didn't know that monster clay comes in different textures or different hardens. I got the one that is medium because Amazon only sells on the medium texture, so they have supposedly one that is harder and probably doesn't melt as quickly.
It still melts quickly. Any of the ones I've ever tried, like I've never I don't know, because I guess maybe like I run hot personally, so like when I'm holding it, it just ends up melting in my hand. It's terrible. Yeah. And I know people who do amazing things with monster clay. And
yes!
It's a really cool looking clay when people use it. I don't understand how anyone uses it.
I'm fully with you on that. Yeah, I'm not sold on it. The only reason why I bought it was because it was a 5-pound tub, and it was like around $30, which is relatively cheap for so much clay.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, when you buy like a pound of monster clay, you pay between $15 and $17, and that's just, you know, comparable expensive.
Yeah, you mentioned you sort of worked in epoxy material, or I can't think of the actual term for it, epoxy. But you know, like Magic Sculpt, where you only have really a 24-hour window to sculpt. Do you like working with that sort of medium, or do you prefer having like a super sculpting where it's just it's always available to sculpt until you're ready to bake it?
Actually, both, and I'm pretty sure George does this too. I usually put like a little wire, a self-created wire armature underneath my sculptures, as well with the muscle figures, and then I put a small amount of the what's it called again? Magic Sculpt. So basically the 2-part compound resin, because that cures in a few hours and it's nice and hard and doesn't bend your figure anymore. And then over top of that, I work with the Super Sculpey over my days or weeks of time, which I really prefer over having to rush with details, because the Magic Sculpt is great for hardness and for some structure, but I don't think it's great for detailing unless you have a lot of stuff to sand.
Gotcha. Okay.
What about you, George?
Well, when I do that little stuff like that, I'll use wax, so I don't need to do an armature or anything, because the wax keeps its shape, and it's at room temperature. It's as hard as you need it to be. So.
Yeah, wax is like another thing that I have to get into if I want to continue going smaller with details. That's for sure. But do you have one of those little melting pens, or however those things are called? Those electric ones?
Yeah, you can't like that. You pretty much need to work with one of those if you're going to do any kind of wax. It's not just like because it's not a soft material. It's more of like a carving material. So you have to be able to heat it back up, and those pens are a must.
I know some people, they, I think, use like a little oil lamp and then just heat up their metal tools, but that is more of a primeval technique than the pens, right?
No, you could do that too. I mean, you definitely. I have a little lamp on my table as well, so I use both.
Do you guys wear those little magnifying glasses, like those little headsets where, you know, because you work so small.
I don't wear it the whole time I'm sculpting, but I've definitely put it on to work on a face or something like that.
Yeah, because I imagine even those muscle figures, it would just, is it easier to work when you're using the magnifying glasses, or is it just, I mean, I've never done it. I just imagine.
No, it's a pain in the ass.
Okay.
Yeah, I get asked that question too very often in my comments, and I don't really use a magnifying glass because I tried it before. A friend of mine, she got me like a little holder thingy where also a magnifying glass is there, but it changes your whole kind of perception of the depth and everything. So I don't like working with it. I just hold it closer to my eyes, and until I'm older and I need glasses, I will just continue this way.
Yeah, that's what happened to me, and that's why I can't see anymore.
How old are you, George?
What's my age? Oh, I'm 42.
Okay. Well, I got 10 years inside of me before I go there then.
Yeah, it's you'll get to the point where it'll suck. Keep looking at that small.
Where's Teresa?
She's probably
Teresa, where are you? Jump in here.
What do you want me to say?
How are your eyes?
Oh, and I have glasses. No, I'm just been listening because I don't sculpt, so this has all been really interesting. I don't have anything to contribute because I don't really do it, but
Teresa, though, what about you and collecting toys? Do you prefer vinyl toys, or do you like people actually selling handmade toys, resin toys that come from the artists themselves without having to go through a manufacturer or somebody else sculpting the toys?
I like a mix, honestly. For me, it's less about the material that it's made in and more about the quality. Mm-hmm. So, like, I don't care necessarily if it's resin or vinyl or what have you, but I want to make sure it's done really well. So you don't like seam lines, right? No, I'm not a huge fan of not a huge fan of seam lines. I'm very nitpicky. I think Gary saw a side of that at 5 Points when we were pulling dunnies from the Designer Toy Award set. Like, I just care about the details being very well done. So I am more than fine. I own for sure resin pieces, and they're really well done. So I don't mind different materials. I just want them to be good quality, and I think you do a really good job at that.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of quality, we got some awesome quality sponsors of the show. We have two amazing designer toy stores for you. There's 3dretro.com, and 3D Retro also has a brick and mortar location out there in Southern California. I believe it's just Burbank adjacent. Here's a beautiful store, so be sure to check them out. And there's StrangeCatToys.com. And actually, if you use promo code Marsham at checkout, you will receive 10% off your order. And then we have PrintsOnWood.com. So if you're an artist or a photographer, and if you ever want to have your artwork or photography printed on beautiful, sustainable wood, then be sure to head on over to PrintsOnWood.com. They have a wide variety of services to offer you, and they've worked with a great deal of amazing artists, helping them with their limited edition fine art prints, and they can do the same for you. And to stay up to date with the most current releases and toy news, we have two awesome toy blogs for you. So be sure to check out thetoychronicle.com and SpankyStokes.com for all your designer toy news. Let's get back to Seriously Silly K. Silly, do you collect toys yourself? I know you said that your husband got you into designer toys when you do some customizing. Okay, so you do collect.
Yes, we do. We do collect designer toys. We have like a bunch of Labbits from Frank. I love his whole Red Rum series that he did with like the shark from Toy Cube, or what is his name, Zorg? Like the character from The Fifth Element. The Fifth Element's, by the way, one of my favorite movies ever. Again, off topic. But yes, we do have a lot of designer toys. Probably not as much as other people, but it's easily in the hundreds.
So what is your overall collecting aesthetic? What does your collection look like? Is it, I know you sculpt really detailed, so do you like the more heavy sculpted stuff, or do you like the, hardly any details, more cute stuff?
It actually depends. We have in our living room a collection that is from white, red to black changing. I like Ferg, for example, a lot. He works with like Jamungo. And they brought out 5 years ago, I think, or probably longer, a really awesome red. It's called like a plague red, and he had shotguns and weapons with him, and he was dressed in a nice suit. He looked like an oversized Ken doll. And the feature that actually sold me on it was that you could squeeze the head, and then like a little tongue came out. That was one of my favorite figures that he produced. But we also have like a lot of other Ferg toys, the squats and stuff, because I like that three-eyed detail at the same time with the simplicity of the toys. And I love that he puts clothes on his pieces.
Yeah.
So it's like it really depends on if I like the toy or not. And of course, I love anything rainbow colored. So we also have like a little bit of different toys that might not fit well together, but color-wise they do with the rainbow scheme.
Okay, that's cool. And then what about your sculpting preference? We all know that you do really amazing, highly detailed works, but do you also prefer doing simpler stuff? By simpler, I don't mean that, because I know I've heard from a lot of people that say doing the simpler, more cartoony, more smooth stuff is actually more difficult. So, question to both you and George, like, what do you think?
You want to go first, George?
I mean, they both have their challenges for sure. I think the nice thing about highly detailed stuff is you can hide a lot of flaws in detail. So when you have to do like a big, smooth, cartoony thing, it is a little bit harder because you really have to nail the actual shapes and the actual sizes of everything. And if your planes are wrong or if your angles are wrong, it really shows on something that's smooth.
Yeah, it's what you said. I absolutely agree with that one. For me, I love detailed stuff the most because I'm just obsessed with details. I think a sculpture looks just so much more interesting and intricate if it has the details. But on the other hand, some sculptures require simplicity. Right now, I'm working, for example, on one that is for the Glitter Hippo store. They're like a daughter company of Solar Color Dust, and they have like a cute little hippo as a mascot. And this has like a lot of round and smooth areas. And for me, I hate sanding. So this is one of those things where I need to sand a lot because I won't be able to completely just by sculpting make everything smooth and round the way it has to be. It's a really, really cute figure. I put a little bit more wrinkles in there than the design shows, so I make it a little bit more detailed just to please myself, but at the same time I have to go with the simplicity that is required.
Well, we're talking about the Kappa turtle that you did for Tolleson.
I love doing the Kappa.
I saw his sketch. He hardly put any detail on the shell. So did he ask for you to do the detail, or you just say, screw it, I'm going to put in all this detail, his mind's going to be blown?
Yeah, that is how it goes with me. When like Scott and me collaborate together, I always go a little bit beyond what's requested of me because I actually love collaborating with him together because he gives me a design, but he also gives me at the same time a freedom for me either to do what I want with the sculpt because I think it might look cooler this way, or just to improve it in my own vision. And we have done this in the past, and the shell was one of those things. You know, he sent me like a front, a back, and a side sketch, and they were just sketches, but really, really nicely done. And then he just told me what he wanted for it. For example, in the sketch, he didn't say, or he didn't show that he wanted skin texture, but he told me he wants a nice light skin texture, not too deep, not too subtle, but at the same time, you know, that it looks realistic. So I just started doing a skin texture, asked for his permission if that works, and he told me, okay, that's cool, change this and this. And with the shell, I just went ahead without even asking and went with this intricate design, knowing that he probably would not object to it, and he loved it. So yeah, I put a little bit of my own soul into this.
So I know a little something about Scott, and he can be quite particular.
Yes,
so the fact that he's
very
trusting you to do kind of whatever you want to do with his design, and he's not like being a stickler to his design, that's putting a lot of faith in you as a sculptor and your style and where he believes that you can take it. So I mean, that alone says it's saying a lot. Trust me.
Yeah, I actually do appreciate that too. You know, I mean, he sometimes gets like new visions, or while I'm sculpting for him, he wants to see what it would look a different way. So I resculpt it, and then we might go back to the old thing. But with him and me, it's like a true collaboration. He gives me a design and I can just change it a little bit. Or, for example, the bride that I just did recently for him, he had 4 odd ones for Frances. He wanted to give her a bride. I don't know if you know about that little limited release that he did. And he said he doesn't want to have any flaws in her face. So he didn't want to have any scars. But Frances the little odd ones, Johnny, it's like a little Frankenstein's monster. He had scars in his face, so I gave her a little scar behind the neck. And I said, Scott, I sculpted everything already. I gave her a scar behind the neck. If you don't want it, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it. And he was like, okay, cool. That's kind of nice. We're going to leave that. So, yeah, I'm really, I love actually working with them together on those things.
That's good. Yeah, when you find someone that you enjoy collaborating with them, definitely stick with them.
Yeah. I hope we're going to do more projects in the future.
Oh, I think he'll keep you busy. Not full-time busy, but he'll keep you plenty busy.
George, how do you like working with Scott?
No, I can agree with all the stuff you said. And then when I started seeing your stuff, I was like, well, he doesn't need me anymore.
Oh no, dude, he does need you for sure, because it seems that sometimes he's very short on sculptors. And for example, I had no idea this Dead Beat #2 was coming out, and when I saw it, I'm like, damn, Scott doesn't need me. I actually had the same freaking thought. I'm like, what does Scott need me for? He has George. I guess you and me are sometimes busy enough that, he keeps either one of us occupied.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good problem to have, though. I mean, the fact that he continues to use you both for the past several years, I mean, that's saying a lot. I know very early on, even before Designer Toys, that Scott he would stress a little bit about, finding a new sculptor, because you know how important a sculptor is to a project. It really, plays a large part in why something succeeds. And so the fact that he trusts both of you and continues to use both of you and allows you to inject a little bit of yourselves in each one of his designs.
You can leave it in. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. And it feels actually good to know that. I mean, sure, Gary knows him much longer than I do. I actually met him in 2015 at the Designer Toy Awards. I liked him before because I fell in love with his trade shows that he did, and I never knew that actually he sculpted the trade shows himself. It's like an owl figure. He has like an owl head without a beak and like a human body and like a little suit, and it's so adorable and so cute. And when I found out he sculpted it himself, I'm like, what does he even need his sculptors for? He could do this shit by himself, but probably for him it's a time issue.
He's got kids.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought the first time I saw it too. I was like, why are you using me? You could do this yourself?
Exactly.
That was a huge shock when I saw that figure.
Yeah, I was mind baffled too, and it's even more of like a compliment that he hires us to do work for him, because he might as well just do it himself.
You mentioning like you all sculpting all this stuff for different artists, like as a collector, I guess I just didn't realize that was like a common thing. I always thought that if an artist came up with a concept, that they're the one who's going to kind of do all the stuff. They're the ones who concepted and sculpted and painted and all of that, but obviously that's not the case, and so sometimes I think it's really cool to find out who the sculptor is behind it, because sometimes I think it's not always clear, and I think it's kind of cool to know who might be the person behind the scenes that's kind of being that secret ninja and bringing stuff to life.
Yeah, I would say more often than not, it's usually, the artist is mainly the designer, and then usually someone else is sculpting. But not so much today. Today's more of a well-rounded do-it-yourselfer time in the designer toy scene. Maybe like 10 years ago, it was definitely more divided. Artist was the designer, then there was a sculptor, and then someone else usually did the molding, and then you send it off to the factory. Like today, it seems there's a lot more do-it-yourselfers that are trying to tackle all elements of it.
Yeah,
especially with the resin scene. With the whole resin scene, most of those people will be most likely making it themselves all the way. So,
because having it produced by a manufacturer, it very often requires you to have your own funds. So you just have to dig in your pockets a couple of grand or even more, and not everybody has those finances. So if you just do it in resin work by yourself, you can do it for a few $100s. And just, produce it yourself in smaller limitations. But Kickstarter, I know, or Indigo, or what other companies, they help little artists very often out if you have a nice crowd that follows you and wants to support you.
Yeah. So I got a question. We were talking about your collaborations with Scott Tollison. You recently have the 8-inch Dunny version of Krampus coming out and releasing in October. Now that was
a 5-inch.
Oh, it's a 5-inch. Okay.
Yeah. But he's taller because of the way that I sculpted his horns, aka the ears. He's like definitely taller than 5 inches, because I also added on the hoofs some clay. So,
Okay, so
he's bigger.
My question is, this was originally a one-off done for
Yes.
a Dunny show through Clutter at last year's New York Comic Con. So was that never up for sale, and then they just decided, let's just use your sculpt for the molds, or did you have, or was that sold and you had to resculpt one? Like, what was the whole process there?
That actually happened in such short amount of time. Clutter basically invited Scott and me both to be part of the DTA show in October during New York Comic Con. And I agreed to making a 5-inch Dunny, because I've never worked on a 5-inch Dunny before. I think it was a relatively new platform back then in 2016. And I'm like, yeah, I'm down, but I also had limited time. So Scott messaged me and was basically, hey, are you part of the Clutter show? Do you want to collaborate? And I'm like, yeah, I'm already part. I haven't gotten sent a Dunny yet, but I already agreed to do this. So Scott basically, I asked Scott, hey, do you have any designs? Because I had nothing in my mind going on at that time what I want to do with a 5-inch Dunny. And he had drawn up designs from years ago, some more recent, and she just sent me a couple of sketches. And it was like 5 or 6 different designs, but the Krampus Dunny that he drew up was like the most elaborate that he had of all of the sketches, and that spoke right to me, because Krampus is part of the German and Austrian culture. He's like the anti-Santa Claus, and children usually grow up with the knowledge that if you're not a good kid, Krampus is gonna get you. He's gonna put you in a basket. He's gonna put you in shackles. You know, he's like the anti-Santa Claus. So it just spoke to me because of my culture and of my heritage. And I'm like, I want to do that thing. He's like, cool, we're gonna collaborate. And I was basically doing the sculpt for him. I did a couple of changes to the original design. I gave him like a little bit more of detail on the hands. Instead of just having those chubby little 2-finger Dunny arms, I gave him real claws. I gave him real hoofs. And then I gave him a little bit of different horns than what was sketched. And he must have showed like a couple of pictures to the staff of Kid Robot. And they asked if, we can make casts of that, so they have some resin pieces and send it to the factory. So it went really in a short amount of time. And I'm like, I'm kind of late with you to send this to you because the Clutter show is coming along. And we wrote to Miranda and said, hey, we're going to send this to you last minute. I have to make a mold of the original sculpt and then make resin pieces. So I already had the whole figure primed, and then I made the mold, and it was a shit show, because there was so much new shit happening that I didn't anticipate, and because otherwise I wouldn't have primed it if I want to make a mold of it. But it happened within a short amount of time. I made a couple of molds, and I sent out the original piece to Scott. He painted it within a week, and we sent it in time out for the show. But while we did this, it was already probably in the planning to send a couple of casts to Kid Robot so they could decide if they want to have it produced or not. And while Kid Robot liked it, and the manufacturer didn't do any changes at all to it, literally original sculpt that I did, they used those resin casts and produced the same detail work now in the 5-inch figure, which is kind of cool. They didn't change anything on it.
No, that's awesome, and I'm glad that they did it before Scott painted it. I didn't know like this all happened, like was decided on after he had painted it, and it did not sell, and they just decided to cast it over his beautiful paint work. And so that's interesting that you decided to cast it before you sent it to Scott, and I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah. I actually offered up to make just a completely new sculpt, but I was told, nah, just use the original and then send us a couple of clean casts as good as possible, including of the shackles, including the swatches that I did, like the little thing that you whip the children with, which is made out of sticks. And I basically provided all of that, and it was just fun to see when I got like the first drafts of the manufacturer that they actually didn't change anything on the sculpt, which I accepted that they would simplify it.
It's awesome.
No, you don't mess with perfection.
They're doing the little boy in the wooden bucket?
Yes, that is why actually the wooden bucket and the little boy. People think that little boy was based on original Dunny, but no, that little boy is only 2 inches and doesn't fit any of the Dunny forms at all, aside from like the ears, but that was completely hand sculpted, and also something that wasn't shown in the sketches. All I saw in the sketch was like 2 little hands, a little head in a bucket, and I had to imagine what would be underneath, like what clothing he would wear. And I gave him one of those pants that have those straps over them, like what actually children would wear as little kids. Yeah, but I really had like a blast doing this, because once again, God let me have my creative freedom and let me do changes, which was not in the sketches with the detail that he required. And I really enjoyed doing that.
That's awesome.
It's really cool that it's going to be your actual sculpt translation into production. Is this your first production piece?
Yes, it actually is. I've never done anything where my footprint is on it, and I'm actually very thankful for the opportunity that we've gotten through Scott. As I never imagined this being a production piece, but Scott loved the sculpt so much that he just reached out to Good Robot and said, "Well, I gotta ask them if they want to produce this." And within like a couple of days, it was like, okay, girl, I know we're on a timeline, but you got to make a mold of this. And yeah, it just happened so quickly, and I still can't believe that this is gonna come out sometime in October this year. Yeah. I just hope that the manufacturer will paint it properly up, because Scott has such a very delicate way and dry brushing, and he's really, really great with paint work, aside from all of the other talents that he has. But he paints so much that it looks like it could be a production piece. There were like no brush strokes or anything on it. I think it's sold within a day right at the convention, and is now with somebody who actually works for like The Walking Dead or something. It's like another person. He has it in his office. Scott told me that, and I'm just amazed where those pieces actually go.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah. The Marsham Toy Hour is sponsored by Scott Tallis and StollyArt.com. Scott's a huge fan of the show, so he'll be excited about this.
Well, how long have we been talking about Mr. Tallis? We're giving like free promotion
hour and a half.
For an hour. We got to stop this now. Let's talk about somebody else who's up and coming in the toy scene. Scott already has like such a big name in the scene. Let's talk about somebody small who needs some promotion here.
So you've had a great collaboration experience with Scott. Is there anybody else that you would like to collaborate with? Maybe a dream collaboration?
Oh my God, yes. Okay, Tokyo Jesus. I think he mentioned something a few months ago. If he has time, he would love to work with me. I would love to work with Tokyo Jesus. I've been following him for a few years on Instagram, and he has been blowing up so much. I loved also the Danny series of the what's it called? It's not Divergent. That was a movie.
Arcane
Divination.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't even know what it means, but the way, honestly, I don't know what both of those words mean, because it's not my mother language, but it clearly shows that it's something magical, something gothic, something that is a little bit more on the dark side.
Trust me, not like 90% of the people have no clue what those two words mean. It's not just deal. It sounds cool, but I don't think many people know what it means.
It sounds magical, like some dark magic, like some voodoo shit. And the series kind of like translate into the darker works. And I really love Tokyo Jesus. As I said, I've been following him for a few years now. So he would be one of those people I would love working with. And another one who is not so much into designer toys, but he has made a couple of minor toys, is Colin Christian. He is an amazing artist. I have been actually at the Tate store. There are like 2 ones in Florida, and there are a couple of his pieces displayed, and I love his fucking work. So those are 2 artists I would love and be honored to work with. Yeah.
So Colin Christian is not someone I'm very familiar with. Are they on Instagram?
Oh, yes. Colin Christian's, they're Colin, and then Christian, like the religious Christian. Just look it up, Teresa. You're going to be blown by his work. It's amazing. But it's also very sexual in some ways, so you might be too innocent for his work at the same time.
Oh, Teresa likes to be blushed and embarrassed. It's okay.
Now, Colin Christian is in some way involved with its Sauce, right? SAS Christian,
yes,
Sauce Christian.
She is his wife. She does amazing paintings, which are similar, which are almost like 2D pieces of what he does in 3D. He loves women. He loves shoes. He loves latex. Everything that is like a little bit more on the fetish side, but it's such beautiful work. Oh God, I could swoon over him for days. He has been established in the art scene for a while, and he's brought out a couple of more perverted toys. One of them is a bunny that stares on a couple of boobs. That is like a vinyl toy he brought out years ago. It's like a blue bunny and a pair of, skin-colored titties. I don't know what the title is, but
can you just say titties again?
Titties?
There you go.
Yeah.
We are not this is not a family show today.
No, it's awesome.
This is fun.
Oh, is it ever a family show though? I think you have.
Nah,
Ever since Teresa joined, it's been very PG.
Oh,
very cute.
We are certainly not against it. It's fine. It's good.
Okay.
It's good.
I'm sorry, Teresa. I don't want to corrupt your mind. And if you
no, you're fine.
I keep wishing Gary would corrupt her more, so I think this is funny.
It puts me a little out of my comfort zone, but it's all good.
I'm so sorry, but check his work out. Even though it is a little bit more fetish, I think you will appreciate what he does because it is very artistic and he does stuff on a large scale, which is even more impressive because there's just so much extra mind work that is involved because you can just hold it in your hand. He works for months or even longer on his freaking giant sculptures.
Cool. I'll have to definitely look them up. Speaking of that, I'm kind of curious. Do you have either a favorite sculpt you've ever done or maybe what you consider your most hardest or most complex sculpt you've ever done?
Oh, that is an excellent question. Let me think. What is the most intricate sculpture that I have done and that I like? Goodness freaking gracious. Detail-wise, it's definitely the muscle figures, I must say. I think the most challenging one that I recently did was from Super 7, from the worst, the Black Falcon. He had spikes and armor on him. That was a really complicated piece. But what I liked the most recently was, and I'm sorry, Scott, I have to mention you again, it is the Kappa Sama that I did for Scott. Because I have never really done skin texture before, so that was for me a learning experience. And to do it in a subtle way so it doesn't look, too wrinkly, but it's very, very subtle details. That was one of those things. And the turtle shell was just so much fun because I like doing the turtle shell on my two-headed turtle previously. For some reason, I just like details and structure and stuff. So yeah, the Kappa-sama recently is definitely one of my favorite pieces because he's also cute and derpy and chubby at the same time. It's not just detailed; it's like an adorable little fella. He looks like the kind of dork that was bullied in school.
Yeah. No, you did a great job on that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut all the towels and stuff out because you talked about him so much. We've gone over. I mean, holy plugs. He's not a paying sponsor. We can't be talking about him this much. No, I'm kidding. It's all staying in.
Okay. Yeah.
So you know that your Black Falcon that for the muscle series, Kat, what did you use for the studs? Are those little metal beads that you put in the clay?
Yeah, actually little metal spikes. Yeah, they were the size between 1.5 and 2 millimeters, I think. So it really shows you just how small the figure is. It's at a height of, actually without the horns, I think it's 1.5 inches. And then I had to make those horns on the helmet, and that's the tallest figure at 2 inches in size. So yeah, those were little metal spikes. Whenever I have the opportunity to save myself time, or when I know that I probably can't do it in a better way, I'm happily to use little chains or to use little spikes to make my work easier and more perfect when actually the pieces were pre-produced.
So where did you just find those in an art store? And
no, I ordered them online. I looked on eBay just for, little metal spikes, like studs or however you call them, and I found them. So sometimes sometimes you have to make yourself the work easier. I understand that some sculptors probably want to do it all just from scratch, but I don't think there would be anything wrong if you, give yourself a little bit of slack and just use the materials that you have at hand. What do you think, George? Do you think it's cheating if I use, little metal studs or little tiny marbles in order to get the detail the perfect way?
No, I mean, that's exactly what you should do. Why sculpt a sphere when you can buy a sphere that's already made perfect? Or why sculpt a spike when you can just buy a spike and save the time putting it on? I mean, that's half the sculpting is finding the right piece for the sculpt.
Thank you. That's really great to hear because I don't really talk to other sculptors in any way or can get input from them. So it's really good to hear that you confirm that you want to use the easier option as well.
Oh no, especially like those little like the rivets around his belt and arm bracelets and stuff. Were they just like were they pinheads? Were they just
No, those are actually itty bitty tiny marbles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're just really, really small. Very often used for nail art. And I looked for they're called like microbeads. I don't really do nail art or anything, but I looked for microbeads in metal so they don't melt when you bake them in the oven. And I found some. And they really are so itty bitty tiny. I would have such a trouble making those tiny little marbles and maybe even squishing it while I'm working on the clay. So I try to make my job easier.
Yeah, no, those are and you still have to figure out the placement and putting them in. Yes. So I mean, there's no way that's cheating. That's 100% the right way to do it.
No, I mean, it makes complete sense. One of the things I've also always struggled with is like finding the right tools because, you know, if I go to like say a Michael's or whatever here locally, there's not a ton of options. There might be a few plastic tools or whatever, but they're not the greatest. And you know, your hands aren't perfect. So I just didn't know if, like, I've heard some people will actually end up creating like their own tools.
Yes.
Like, is that something you do frequently just to kind of be able to get to, you know, create the different detail and stuff when you're working?
George, do you want to go first?
You're the guest. You go first.
Oh, thank you. But hey, aren't you a guest too, though? You're not a regular at the show.
Oh, yeah. Nice. A little burn. I get it.
Honestly, I think you would be great as a regular at the show because you have so much input and so much knowledge, and you again are a peer because you are much longer in the scene than some of his other guests probably are.
Well, I can definitely talk about my tools. Most of the tools that I use on a daily basis, and Gary, no giggling. I said tools with an S on the end.
I know, I can't help it.
Gary, I had exactly the same thought. We don't need to talk about it. I know.
I've made all mine that I use right now, and it's just mostly out of necessity because a lot of the times the stuff that you'll see in stores will either be too big for the work that I do or sometimes too brittle that if you're buying them all the time because you're breaking them all the time. So it's like, I'd rather just make it and that way I can just keep fixing it. But there is a site and it's a guy who's a friend of mine named Ken Banks. And if you go to kenstools.com, it's KENSTOOLS, kenstools.com. He makes tools that are used in the industry, in mostly in special effects industry, but also like the toy, like it's a lot of the same tools you would use for the toy stuff, but you would get the smaller versions. So Ken's Tools is a great place online to go to get any of the kind of things you need. And he also does eyeballs and things like that if you need that kind of stuff. But he supplies tools for a lot of the art schools around the nation. Like they will order from him. So it's the same tool that you're going to be getting if you go to a lot of these like art stores and things like that. He actually is the guy that makes them.
Cool.
Yeah, and he usually sells them also like piece by piece, and they range like between $5 and I think $10 per piece, but they're absolutely worth it because he considers the small sculpting people. He has like little things where you can make, for example, nails on dolls. They have like a specific U-shaped form. So if you want to make your work easier, you definitely these tools are great. Otherwise, you can make your own, and I'm the same way actually. I use guitar strings. You buy yourself a pair of different guitar strings, and you can use them as little like scoop tools. So those ones you're gonna make yourself your own ones from, because as George said, sometimes they are too big, and those scoop tools that you can get online, they tend to be too big for the detail work that you want to do. Or what I also love, which is usually often cheaper, you go on Amazon and you look for dentist tools, which are metal tools to begin with, so they last longer than those little metal adjustments on a wood base, and they are so much cheaper and usually exactly the same as sculpting tools, and they are great for like little tiny work. So dentist tools.
That's a good tip.
George.
Yeah, I mean those are the exact tools that all are on my desk. It's guitar string tools that I made with brass rod or brass tube and guitar string, and dental tools that I've shaped down into the shapes that I need.
Yes. You just need to sand them down or Dremel them down and give them some more edge.
Now, Silly, you helped sculpt the Krampus 5-inch dunny. Is it true that you also sculpted the new Batman dunny head sculpts?
What? Heck, oh my god.
I'm just trying to trip you up.
Oh my god, no. I have seen the sculpts.
Because they're god awful.
Honestly, they look like a 12-year-old school kid sculpted them. I think somebody actually mentioned something like this between toy people that I chat with, and it almost sounds believable. So they're like, hey, a 12-year-old sculpted them. It's like a special project for Good Robot, and they're gullible as I am. I'm like, that sounds almost believable. So I can't even, hate on those dunnies, but what were they thinking? I'm sorry, Kid Robot, I love you. I really do. But those sculpts are god awful. Why did she have to mess with the dunny shape and elongate them and give him like an edge? That Robin looks just god freaking awful. I think like the two. No,
someone really hates Robin. That's all I have to say.
So you agree on that? It's just
remember though, that could also be licensor stuff.
Yeah, the licensor wanted to have them this way. What were they thinking? At least freaking do the print work on the design then a better way and not so simple. And oh goodness, I'm sorry. I don't want to be a hater. My mom told me if I don't have anything positive to say, don't say anything. But God, they are a thorn in my eye. I hate those figures.
Well, don't feel bad. I don't think they weren't designed for us. They were designed for the designer toy market. This is mass production. This is stuff for the comic book stores and the Barnes and Nobles, and it's not for us. So
yeah.
I don't even know that they're technically calling them dunnies. Yeah, they used what we know as the dunny platform, but I don't know that anywhere on the box or actually Kid Robot is calling them dunnies. I don't know that.
Aren't they blind box dunnies though? Am I getting this wrong? I haven't seen the packaging.
I'm double checking you on that.
So they are. They're dunnies, but I don't know that Kid Robot is actually calling them. They're calling them dunnies.
Yeah.
Oh, see. Okay.
See.
Yeah.
I am not. I rarely say negative things, but I have to say that they're atrocious in many ways. Like, regardless of the dunny sculpt, like just across the board, they just are not good. Batman literally looks like he's trying to hold in Bella.
Yeah, right. It's just a shame because we've seen so many Batman and Harley Quinns and we've seen so many customs done that were amazing, and these production ones aren't half of what the good custom ones were. So, but it's unfortunate. But let's move on. So we're running a little long. We got some questions for you. We hit the stomping ground, the Marsham stomping ground, and we let people know that you're going to be on tonight, Silly. And so we have some, tell you what, our listeners on the stomping ground, they have some very hard-hitting and well-thought-out questions for you. Oh. So are you ready for those?
Hit us. I just don't want to have a mark on my face, please.
Okay. Well, the first one comes from John Spanky Stokes, and he wants to know, what's kitchen paper?
What's kitchen paper? Okay. I think that is a mistranslation from German into English. In Germany, we literally, if you translate it word for word, we call kitchen paper towel. That's like those one-time usage things that you put in your kitchen or you use to clean your mirrors with or whatever.
Yeah, paper towels.
Paper towel. Okay. And you call it kitchen paper.
Yes, we literally call it kitchen paper. That is what it is, paper towel.
I love all those translations. When I worked in the animation studio, and we call them erasers, but the people from Ireland always called them rubbers. And sometimes you would hear "Can you pass me a rubber?" And oh my God!
You think of a color? No, this is not a Bordeaux. I'm sorry, we're not passing you rubbers.
All right. So the next question, Eric Althin, sad salesman. He would like to know: can you make some more two-headed turtles?
Eric, I freaking love your work. We actually talked about you earlier on the podcast. And yes, I hope, first of all, that I can meet you at G-Con, and I will definitely work on some more turtles for actually November 2017. So please give me a hug when you see me.
All right. And Brad Smith, well, he would just like some cookie recipes from you.
Oh, I can provide them. I know he's a vegan. We basically met each other through Stranger Factory because I have been doing a show for them in June, and I found out that he is vegan as well. So yes, I'm going to send you some freaking recipes for vegan stuff, but I don't think you will actually cook them yourself or bake them. You need somebody to make that for you.
He's too busy traveling. So, listeners, you guys got to come with better questions. These are fun questions. They're fun. They're lighthearted fun. but surely you can come up something a little better for our guests next time. It's a challenge.
Maybe you guys can ask me something that you're interested in, and I will see to answer that for you.
Well, that's nice, and we'll definitely have you back and asking more questions. So we've been running a little long, so it's been great having you on, Silly.
Wait, are we done already?
Okay, we can keep going. Like I said, I could just cut out the towels and stuff. We'll save about 45 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
Well, Teresa said, if I remember right, you wanted to be in bed before midnight, so we got less than 20 minutes to keep the girl on.
Oh, the girl's having a great time. She doesn't want to leave.
No, I actually like you, and I love that you're so innocent. I'm sorry if I make you feel uncomfortable. As I told Gary earlier, while it was just a short conversation between him and me, I don't really have a filter. I don't know how to put a filter on. So if anything comes off as abrasive, I apologize, and I really don't mean it in a bad way. I tell you, I'm literally a people pleaser. People that I work with or people that I like, I want to make them happy. And if my personality might come off as a little bit abrasive, it's not meant that way.
You're seriously more than fine. Honestly, like, I wish I could be that way. It's just so not me. Probably the way I was raised. Like,
You kind of have to meet Teresa. Like, she is just like the most bubbly, friendly. Like, I just can't imagine talking like anything foul with you, Teresa. Like, even when I talk to you, I always feel like, Gary, you're talking to Teresa. Like, cut out the language, tone it down.
It is admirable because nowadays so many people, children, teenagers at a really young age are corrupted by the internet, are corrupted by the way people speak to each other. So having people who are more pure and innocent and guarded and grew up in a different way, that is always great to have. And I hope that you never lose this. I hope that none of us ever will corrupt you and take that innocence away from you, because this is something very precious to keep, and not many people nowadays have that anymore.
I'm gonna corrupt her. Teresa is a big fan of Tokidoki.
Oh, I love Tokidoki!
Tokidoki has an adult sex toy line.
Oh, isn't that?
So I will be sending her like.
Gary,
I don't know.
send me that.
No, but
I know about.
You can put it on. You can put it with the rest of your Tokidoki collection. It'll fit right in.
Nobody.
Your parents could come over and they would have no idea what that weird looking toy is in that collection.
Gary.
They would just think it's another toy.
Do they vibrate like Barry the Beaver?
Oh yeah, they got no. It's a full collection. They got the with the pocket rocket, skinned in.
A question though: are they made out of toxic vinyl, or did they use
No. This is a real sex toy company. They
I've never heard of Tokidoki making this, because I have pillow covers. I love Tokidoki. I love the little cactus cat and whatever they did, but I didn't know they made this. And the thing is, I'm asking about Barry the Beaver because I don't exactly remember who freaking made Barry the Beaver.
Jeremy Fish.
Yes, Jeremy Fish. Thank you so much. And I'm on Rotocast, and I don't know if you know it, but this is like an online library, a toy library, almost like Trampt. I think Trampt is the other one. And it popped up years ago, and it's like Barry the Beaver, and it vibrates, and it looks like a freaking dildo, and has like the little like tail on the back, which probably is like able to tickle your clit or whatever. But a friend of mine, he had the toy and he didn't know it was a vibrator. I'm like, hey, have you ever tried vibrating it? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, you have a vibrator in your house. And the vibration is just the saddest vibration ever. So it's more of a toy to look at than ever to use.
I think it was intended more as a joke on the fact that we call them adult toys.
Yes.
And I don't think it was ever intended to actually be a vibrator.
Oh, it works though. I'm telling you that much, but it's a sad thing. But I never would have thought of that being a joke to 15 years and up. Our designer toy scene. It makes so much sense.
It's an absolute brilliant execution by Jeremy Fish. The name is brilliant, Barry the Beaver. But it's not sex toy quality silicone. So
No, it's very hard.
Keep it on the shelf.
I was totally disappointed too, and it's small too, but still, it's a freaking cute toy, and nobody would know that it has that function. Especially Teresa wouldn't know.
Well, I have to say, I just Googled it. It's super cute. I could totally see having it in my collection. I would have known.
Go ahead, add it.
It had that spin to it, but it's cute. If I had Barry the Beaver, more than likely it would just be a toy.
Yeah. What kind of toy, Teresa?
A good old fashioned on the shelf designer toy.
Like an elf on the shelf.
An elf on the shelf.
And I just think like that is typically American. I never knew what an elf on the shelf was until somebody told me about it. That every Christmas you put like a little elf in a different spot on a shelf, and it's like a luck bringer or something, right?
It's anything to capitalize on. Someone will come up with the idea. Now they have what's the Jewish version?
Mensch on a bench.
Mensch on a bench, yes.
Mensch on a bench, basically a human on the bench.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
And do they put like little human-sized elves on the bench then, or something?
From my understanding, it's very similar to what the elf on the shelf is, but the Jewish version for Hanukkah.
It literally looks like just an old Jewish man, and you just put him around the house the way you put the elf around the house.
So the stereotype with like the curls instead of the cutlets and like a little hat or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's cute. That is adorable.
Both this elf on the shelf and Mensch thing are newer. I didn't grow up with all that stuff. It's like a new thing.
No, it's the last 10
to
years.
Make them be good for Santa.
Or we have the Krampus. If you're not good, you're gonna get kidnapped and put in shackles and be enslaved by Krampus.
It's a lot more terrifying. And I made the mistake of actually trying to watch the movie. I turned it off after about...
Oh, I loved the freaking movie. Oh, it was so
that's a shame. Krampus is one of the best, dude.
Yes.
Good in a bad way. That's what you guys mean, right? It's so bad.
No, I actually at Comic-Con I bought one of the Krampus bells from Weta. They had the Krampus bell from the movie for sale.
Oh, I love that movie. It was so good. Also because the grandma was actually German. And a lot of times when I hear American movies, they put in actors that have the German accent, but you know exactly those are hard-learned words. They're not really actually Germans that play those roles. So when I watched *Inglourious Basterds* for the first time in the USA and also Krampus, I'm always happy when I see actual German actors speak German.
So what she was saying was the real stuff?
Yes. She was an actual German woman, and she spoke the real language without any, fake accent or anything. It was
awesome.
Perfect. Yes. And she was like the typical grandma that she would expect, and she was terrified of Krampus. I mean, you have seen the movie. I love the movie too because the way they depicted Krampus, he looked more human than like the goat type of Krampus that everybody is knowing, and I love that about him. It was a good ending too. It was like a nice little twist at the end. I'm sorry, Gary, you didn't like the movie.
Gary, you got to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually turn it off. I just stopped paying attention to it, and I went off and did something else in the house. So I could give it another chance. It's on HBO, but so I designed a toy called Sylvan, and that was actually based off of Krampus too. But I didn't want to say it was Krampus because it's not my personality to go that evil. So it was loosely based on Krampus, but I couldn't actually say it was Krampus.
Did you post it on any of your social networks?
Yeah, it's out there somewhere. If you just Google search Gary Ham Sylvan, Sylvan, you would see it. But it's not like a kidnapping kids with chains and all that. It's just a very more cutesified version.
I'm looking.
I don't think most people even know.
Yes, I actually love that figure. Yes, I have seen this before. I'm looking right now on Google. You know what I actually like about your work?
Tell me.
The color choices. The color choices that you make. I have like a big affection for like the blue and orange, and you use in combination with those colors also the black or the brown to give it more of a depth, and you have made this cute little badge, and I think that is like a blue, yellow, orange, and brownish color, and I love those colorways on it so much.
Oh, cool, thanks.
Yes, and the Sylvan, I didn't even know that he had some relations to Krampus. I'm looking at him right now.
Most people don't. It's because I didn't like, I don't think you would look at it and know, other than it having like the goat-like legs, and it's got the horns, and it's got the kind of the scary gripping fingers, but you don't look at it and say Krampus, and that's good. I didn't necessarily want people to look at it and see that.
Yeah.
You just loosely inspired by.
I would have never known. And your work is just like, cutesy as well. So the cuteness factor, I think, is like a big thing that sells for people. And you have that down. Like Chris writing Scott, you have like all of the sense into the cuteness, and at the same time a little bit of creepiness. So this is all great. Chris usually with his like dark black eyes, which is alien like, but at the same time he does those cute little thingies. And then also, how was it working with Brian Rutherford? He has this amazing like rotocasting machine or something that you guys took to the convention. When I was watching those videos, I was amazed.
Mm-hmm. Ryan is one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet. Extremely knowledgeable in everything manufacturing wise. Great personality, super nice guy. I mean, he's a giant, but a gentle giant, so you can approach him, and he loves nothing more than informing and teaching people. So anyone who walked up to the booth, he would teach them what he was doing it, why he was doing it, and he would let them stir the resin and actually fill the molds and put it in the machine. And he's just such a cool guy, and I can't say more great things about him. And so yeah.
That's awesome to hear. I know him from back then when he came out with design of the ice cream cone. I think that was like his like rocket starter through the fucking sky, yep. And that happened years ago as well. So I'm super happy to see that he does not only do his own work, but also works with people like you together on the little timber stump, or however you called it. What was the name of the little tree stump thingy that he did?
I just called it Logan.
Logan. Okay.
Logan, as some people call it.
Oh, Logan, like the X-Men character, but at the same time, Log.
Imagine being like Log Man, and we just dropped the M and called it
Logan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
But that thing sold so well at the convention, right? Like Ryan couldn't stop making more rotocasts for you.
No, Ryan was a machine, man. They sold really well, and so we were taking online orders and then fulfilling orders at the convention. And so Ryan was pretty much tirelessly working those 2 days, like 9-hour days, so 18 hours, and pretty much through lunches too. He would just keep cranking. He would eat, of course, but he would spin the machine. I think the machine, his Brotocaster, spit out, I believe it was 2 every 10 minutes, something like that. So, yeah, they did really well. They're pretty much almost sold through. I have a few more on the website. But other than that, they did really well.
I hope you gave the guy a bonus, too.
He did well. But, the whole thing about it was we just wanted to show people that, yeah, you could do this sort of stuff in the States and not have to really jack up the prices. We wanted to make it really affordable. So the profit on each piece, they were only $30 or $35 each. There was not a large profit margin. We just wanted to keep the prices low and keep people happy and move as much product as possible. So, yeah.
Okay, good.
So, I got one last question for you. Let's say you couldn't fly out to Designercon and you had to drive. You're stuck in the car during this cross-country trek. What one person in the designer toy scene do you want to be stuck in that car with for, 2 days?
Okay. I think that is relatively easy. That would be Jay Rio, because he is a very wise man. He is incredibly knowledgeable. He is super zen and calm in his personality. Yeah. And I think he could talk for hours without me getting bored of him.
Okay. No, that's a great choice. I'll just make one suggestion. Make sure you bring a dictionary.
And a hearing aid.
But yes, Jesse would be that person that I would want to be on the road with, because I think I could learn a lot from him and a lot of spiritual things as well.
Definitely. No, that's a good choice.
Thank you.
I thought you were going to say Scott.
No, the thing is, Scott and me, we are both Gemini. Okay, I'm like the last day of Gemini. I think his birthday is on the 17th or 18th. I think it's the 18th June. And Geminis, after a while, they will clash with each other. My brother is a Gemini, and we have like a hate-love relationship with each other. So I think Scott and me, we would just both feed off each other's energy. So if one of us would get frustrated, the other one would get too. And I think Jesse would be just a permanently calm person to keep me level-headed and to just take all of my stress and anxiety away. That's just the type of person I believe he would be. Yeah.
Good choice.
But Teresa, you're cute bringing Scott Tolleson again in this game. Just when we thought we stopped talking about him.
Welcome to the Stolly Art Hour. Well, it's about time to wrap it up, but one final question. Are you going to be at DesignerCon this year?
Yes, it would be a pleasure to meet all of you because it would be the first time ever I can get to this convention, and I sadly have not been in the past been able to attend many aside from the New York Comic Con and the DTAs in 2015. So really, if you guys can make it, I will be there no matter what, and no matter how much money it costs, I will be there, and I would love to meet everybody and also talk a little bit more on a personal level than just interacting with somebody over comments through Instagram.
Yeah, definitely. Are you just going as a guest, or are you going to be like, Scott would probably let you share part of his booth, or like?
Yeah, I don't know if this is 100% settled, but we are planning on it because, Krampus will be probably also coming out around that time. So if he would have me and sharing a booth with me, probably next to Lucifer. I love Lucifer too. Like, Lucifer is such a freaking nice guy. He has been in the toy scene for so long as well. He is actually the one, and shout out to freaking Lucifer, who got me in contact with Super 7. And through him, I was able to do those freaking amazing muzzle projects, and I can't wait to work more with them. So, Lucifer, you're the fucking best. And I hope to see you at DCon because he gives amazing hugs, but I only saw him for 2 minutes in 2015 during New York Comic Con, and then he was at the DTAs, but he was at the bar the whole time, and I was at a different place at the DTAs, and we didn't see each other once. So he's an amazing hugger, and if everybody sees me at DCon, that goes out to all of the people listening. Thank you, first of all, for tuning in and for listening to our crap. Please say a word, tell me who you are, and give me a freaking hug. Don't be afraid, because hugging is one of the things that I love. I love to get touchy-feely with people. I hope that I don't make you feel uncomfortable, but I just love hugging people and be personal and socialize with you. So please come by.
I'm going to put it out there and also say hug Gary as much as possible. I know he's a huge hugger too, and probably wants
I love
to
hugs.
Yes!
And not just me. Frank Kozik loves hugs. So you should just get like a running start and just let Frank catch you in his arms. He loves hugs.
Yeah,
He's just a big teddy
right
bear.
now, right? Because Teresa and me, we were both having the same opinion, because I have been trying to, meet Frank Kozik for many years now. But Teresa has the same fear.
Fear
that Frank is more of like a grumpy person, and I hope that he's a hugger and then more of a gentle giant than what his persona.
I think Frank. I briefly met him, so I can't say one way or the other. I don't know him, but I think he's just one of those victims of resting grump face. I've heard he's actually a really sweet guy and a good guy. He's just one of those guys that on appearance doesn't look all that approachable. So I know where you guys are talking about. But I think he's just a victim of resting grump face. So he would love nothing more than give you a hug.
Okay, he would not reject me because it's one of my fears. I actually commented a couple months ago on his Instagram, because I follow that guy. Of course, he travels like everywhere. He posts rarely pictures of his art anymore. It's more just like traveling him and food, so typically Instagram. But I'm like, Frank, if I ever get to meet you at DCon anywhere, I made it my mission to hug you, and I really hope, he will freaking return the hug. Of course, he didn't comment back or anything, but fuck, it would be, I would be just the happiest child. I would even wear a plate t-shirt or anything. I actually love plate stuff. I have like a couple of shirts that have this, how you call them, like the wood cutter, the wood axe man designs, like those. How you call them? A plate shirt, right? I would even wear one of those if that builds a rapport with him. I would do just anything to fucking hug the guy and get a smile back.
Getting a smile back might be a big ask.
You gotta end this podcast, Gary.
I know. We gotta wrap it up, people. So Teresa, not Teresa, Silly Cat.
Yes.
SeriouslySillyK. Let us, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you take a brief moment and let everyone know where they can find you?
Okay, you might have probably heard before, if that wasn't cut out, that I'm not on Facebook or Twitter or any other social websites. My only one actually is Instagram, and I'm pretty active on there. If you write a comment, to 99% I take the time to write you back. And my Instagram is SeriouslySillyK, just the letter K. And you can find me there. I'm in public profile, so feel free to just chit chat with me to tell me where you're coming from. And as I said, I'm going to check you guys out and happily have conversations with you.
Now, how do people contact you if they wanted to hire you for sculpting? Do they just DM you through Instagram, or do you prefer them to email you like by going to a website or something?
Yeah, I'm like terrible with DMs, especially if that person is not a person that I follow. I think it goes like in a request line that I barely ever get to see. So I have been busy with taking on any commission works of private people. I usually get, swamped with other sculpting projects from Super 7, or I do toy shows.
Scott,
yes, like he keeps me beautifully busy, which is a great thing, but it's mostly at the moment like Super 7, Scott, or even my own shit, which I'm happily to do. But if you want to catch me, then just write me an email as well to SeriouslySillyK@gmail.com. And otherwise, just write on Instagram. Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm hard to reach. I'm sorry about that. I'm a very private person usually.
No, that's good. Teresa, where can people find you?
All right. Well, Kat, this has been fun. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And if you ever want me back, I would love to be there again, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Teresa's working on a little side project for the show. So, Teresa, maybe that's something you can fold Silly in with.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah, I'll
Where
let you
can
know.
we find you?
So to find me, I'm just like you. I'm really mostly on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook too, but for Toy World stuff, just find me on Instagram at TMHAWK24.
George.
At George Gaspar on Facebook and Twitter, at Double G Toys on Instagram. And again, thank you guys for having me back on the show as well.
Definitely. We love you, George. And I am Gary Ham. You can find me at Gary Ham on Instagram or superham.com. This has been the Marsham Toy Hour. We do this every week, not because we have to,
but because we want to.
There you go. Until our next transmission, we're signing off. Bye.
Bye, everyone.